And so I was definitely busy in this week. But actually, I could survive because maybe that is because I was lucky. But actually, anyway, I had been busy in this week, and so however, which is fine. So I'm really tired and I'm really exhausted. But actually, which is fine. So I couldn't create episodes this time so much, and as always. And but actually, I haven't created episodes of my podcast so much before. Maybe last year was a great chance for making episodes of podcast. Last year or two years before, that time was really a great chance of creating or piling contents of podcast. But actually, the pandemic has already been over. I mean, the pandemic of COVID-19, and so I'm still talking. Or I'm speaking in this manner because I I assume that I assume that some of the listeners can be ones who live in the era or who live in the time 100 years after this time. So which is what I think. And by the way, I'm recording this episode in the middle or in the beginning of June in 2023. And by the way, so what anyway, I'm going to tell you the title and the conclusion of this episode. Not conclusion. I'm not going to talk about the. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the conclusion of this episode. And first of all, the title of this episode. I mean, the title of this podcast, or the title of this episode of podcast is "Play Amateur Blowjob Last Forever," and the conclusion is. Wait a moment, please. I should write the conclusion. The conclusion is so I created a content of medium. I think this is fine. So the title of the content I created this time is Amateur Blowjob that succeeded changing its forms to the future, which is also the title of an episode of podcast I created in the past. And this time I created what I'd like you to know this time is that so I created the written version, or I created the writing about so that's weird in terms of English language. So I created a composition. I created an online composition, which is what I created, and I created an online composition writing about that amateur blowjob has lasted, and that genre or that category is going to last forever. And I pray that amateur blowjob last forever, which is the title of this episode this time. And by the way, so I almost forgot to introduce myself to you. And hello everybody, I'm Richard Gong of Work to Live podcast version, and this time I'm going to adopt a method of Mr. Hiroki Nishimura, creating videos of YouTube, when he creates live videos, or when he creates videos of YouTube, so he drinks alcoholic drink. Mr. Hiroki Nishimura drinks alcoholic drinks when creating videos, and I'm going to drink a can of alcoholic drink. And this time, what I'm going to drink is a dense lemon sour, and which is a translated title of which is a translated meaning or translation of English. And I'm a Japanese person, and my mother tongue is Japanese, and in my mother tongue, the name of drink is pronounced koime no lemon sour, and the percentage or the density of alcoholic drink Well, the density of alcohol in this alcoholic drink is 7%. And cheers. I'm going to finish. And by the way, I'm going to finish this recording of this episode soon enough. And this time is about this time is the introduction of the online composition I created this time, and which is and first of all, let me make a sort of the entire course of a story. So first of all, before this present time, or before this time, I had created an episode of podcast, and the title of that podcast in the past, the title of the episode of podcast in the past was Amateur Blowjob, the succeeded, changing its forms to the future, and meaning is so amateur blowjob after which comes semicolon, and after which comes the succeeded comma, and changing its forms comma to the future period. And this time I created a written composition for this podcast, for this episode I created before, and this time I reorganized the actual content I spoke in that episode. So when I was speaking out stuff in that past episode, so what I was speaking out was really disorganized. But actually this time, so I reorganized what I said in that episode I created before. And for example, so I packed, so I was talking about the features of amateur blowjob in many times in the same episode. But actually, so I bundled those features I was talking about, and I was talking about into a section, and which means, so in the entire episode of that podcast. So the features are scattered. The episodes, not the episodes, but the features of amateur blowjob I was talking about had been scattered. And but actually, so in this online composition, I packed, or I bundled them into a section, and another section is attractive points. So in the previous episode. So in the previous episode, in that episode I created this time, and I was creating. The episode I'm talking about is amateur blowjob, the succeeded, changing its forms to the future. And in that episode, so I explained, or I was explaining attractive points of amateur blowjob, and one of which, I think this is the main one, and which is you can imagine that the amateurs around you, for example, your girlfriend, have dated many men, have given head for them, and consequently have adroit skills of sexual intercourse, which is a main attractive point in this case. But actually, so in that case of, and so after which, and some minutes after, I began to talk about another attractive point. I began to talk about another attractive point, but actually, so I thought they should be written. They should be written. Well, they should be written in the same section, which is why, so I reorganized them and I reorganized that the entire stuff I was talking about in the past episode, and I bundled them into a section, which is why, so I think you can, by reading this online composition, I think you can more easily understand what I spoke out in that past episode. And the purpose of this episode is to advertise amateur blowjob, or the attractive point of amateur blowjob, or the beauty, or the en- enticement, or yes, enticement of or enjoyment of amateur blowjob, including that online composition I created this time. So I'm going to write the link of that of that online composition into the description column of this episode, and which is fine. So if you'd like to read that online composition, please take a look at please access that description column of this episode, so that you can find us a link of that online composition. So this is all the stuff I'd like to tell you. So and by the way, so when I was talking about another attractive point of amateur blowjob, so maybe I inserted that another attractive point, like an improvisation. Wait a moment, please. So I'm a native speaker of English language, which is why I need the investigation for checking out the correct meaning of each word. Improvisation, improvising. Yes, I'm the product of improvising. Wait a moment, please. So I created the episodes. I said that I was talking about that another attractive point as an improvisation. Or I improvised that another attractive point when I was creating that past episode. And what happened without having planned in advance. So another word is impromptu. I think this is another word. I think an impromptu action is one that you without planning or in advance. So that another attractive point was impromptu. And that another attractive point is, so slightly ugly women have higher skills of sexual intercourse. And if you'd like to know what's that, why I was talking about that another attractive point, that slightly ugly women have higher skills of sexual intercourse. So if you'd like to know its reason, anyway, please read that online composition I created this time. So wait a moment, please. I'm going to tell you the title and the conclusion of this episode, and the title is "Pray Amateur Blowjob Last Forever." And in this case, the pray I'm talking about is pray for China, or pray for Ukraine, stuff like that. Not play soccer game, or not play in baseball. So my mother tongue doesn't distinguish the pronunciation of L and R. So which is why I inserted this comment this time. So that's it. Thank you very much for everything. See you.